How you all doing tonight? This is the PCFREEPatriot on Thursday night, September 1st, 2016. This is my first YouTube video that I'm doing. I was thinking about doing this for a while. I have some background in journalism, more the print variety, and with everything that's been going on with the 2016 election and world events, I thought it would be good to start doing maybe a nightly podcast just to discuss the current events that's going on. So I guess we can start and say there is a lot going on in the world right now. We have, first and foremost, the 2016 election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I mean, you have two polarized opposites there. You have Donald Trump, who doesn't have any political experience but has been in the limelight for over 30 years. And then on the other side of the coin, you have Hillary Clinton, who of course was the First Lady of the United States, also was a state senator from the state of New York in the early 2000s. So let me just come out first and say that I am a Trump supporter. The reason why I am a Trump supporter is because I feel like he is the best option we have to keep this country going in the right direction. I personally voted for, believe it or not, Barack Obama the last two elections. Not something I'm very proud about, but I actually drank the Kool-Aid. After the disastrous eight years of George W. Bush, I felt that this country needed a change and we needed a new voice. And when Barack Obama came on the scene in 2006-2007, he portrayed himself to be a unifier. He had some amazing speeches, quote-unquote speeches. I mean, I remember one where he was somewhere in Germany. I think it was Frankfurt. It was in Germany, and there was thousands of people listening to him talk. And it's the type of speech that at the time that inspired me and made me think of Ronald Reagan when Reagan would have his Cold War speeches in Europe, especially that Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall speech back in the mid-'80s. Of course, I was wrong about Obama. He was on the platform of uniting the country, and the last 8 years has seen a slow deterioration, a worsening of race relations, a complete polarization of people between what I call the conservative or the traditional American polarity, which consists of gun owners, former military, police, conservative Christians, just basically the flyover territory. When they talk about flyover territory, the Midwest, everything between the coasts. And then you have, on the other side, you have the progressives who, over the last 8 years, the Democratic Party has gone more to the left, to the point of borderline fascism. And that's the funny thing. I mean, the progressives, they like to talk about free ideas and tolerance and equality, but that only really applies to themselves. It doesn't apply to people with different views. A perfect example would be an incident that took place a couple days ago in Hawaii, where a Lyft driver was belittled by a social justice warrior because he had a dancing hula hoop girl on his dashboard. Apparently this woman was offended by it, and she went on to go into this rage, belittling this person about that. So it's just that type of behavior. I mean, there's been many instances over the last couple of months of liberals here in I'm from the Chicagoland area, and there was a Trump speech in the spring, and it was shut down at the University of Chicago because the liberals who gained wind that Trump was going to be speaking, organized with several MoveOn.org outlets, as well as Bill Ayers, who was back in the weather underground movement in the 60s and 70s. So it seems like, and there was several other Trump rallies that were interrupted. Most notably, there was one in California where several Trump supporters were accosted. One woman Trump supporter was pelted with eggs. There's been many instances of interruptions during Trump rallies over the last year, but it's funny because the liberals have no issue coming in and disrupting the freedom of speech and the rights of conservative Trump supporters, but on the other hand, they will cry racism and cry all of these injustices for things that don't really happen. There's been one instance off the top of my head I can remember at a rally in North Carolina where a Trump supporter decked what looked like a Black Lives Matter supporter. So take it as it is. We're in a very volatile state right now in this country. It's probably never been as divided since probably the 1960s. So right now, as we look at the presidential election, you have the mainstream media, of course, saying that Hillary Clinton is winning, which I don't really believe, because she doesn't even leave the House. She has had very few public appearances. Every public appearance she does have, she does seem to be dealing with some health issues, which has been brought up by the alt-right media and has been basically poo-pooed by the controlled mainstream media, such as CNN and MSNBC. Yeah, we are in a dire position in this country. We need to be in a country where people can have a chance to express their views freely, and I fear if the progressives continue to gain a foothold in this country, and if Hillary Clinton becomes elected, that the freedom of speech and the freedom of ideas is only going to be limited to certain people. And we've been seeing that for the last 5 years. If you look at the workplace, the millennial generation, which has been incubated since their births in the 1990s, to live in this world where everyone gets a trophy and everyone has the ability to get stuff without having to work really, really hard. And they're probably the dumbest generation ever in the history of this country. They have been purposely based on No Child Left Behind and other educational exploits. They've been purposely dumbed down because you cannot have a thinking populace to question, because if you do, then all the things that are currently taking place in this country would not be able to exist. So, without getting into a long discussion about my theories of how we got to this place, we need to talk about where we are right now. To talk about the last 24, 48 hours, Donald Trump has been doing very well. He was in Mexico yesterday. He was invited by the president of Mexico, Nieto Pena. Both presidential candidates were invited. Donald Trump jumped on the opportunity to go down there and meet with the president, and Hillary Clinton actually declined. She went on to go to a American Legion talk, where she went on to continue to belittle Trump and to make accusations about him. So back to the Mexico meeting between Trump and Nieto Pena. It went really well. From what I could tell, he acted extremely presidential. He held a press conference where he did not duck reporters. There were some questions asked at the end. There was an interpreter, and the president of Mexico seemed pretty cordial. He wasn't attacking. Same thing with Trump. Trump talked about partnership between the two countries, about shared issues such as border security, sovereignty, issues with drug cartels, as well as the free flow of weapons and money, which also will open up another can of worms if the alternative media does start to talk about Fast and Furious, which is a rumored program that shipped arms and money to Mexico for drugs. But that's a whole other story. So Trump had a very successful trip down to Mexico. He showed his ability to be a statesman, which is very important. And then he topped that trip off with an immigration speech in Arizona, where he outlined in specifics his points on immigration and how to deal with illegal immigration, which is an epidemic in this country. And he spelled out, he made it clear that there will be no amnesty, that if someone wants to be a legal citizen, they're going to have to leave the country and then come back the normal way like everyone else has. My personal opinion is that I have relatives in the past who came as immigrants, as everyone pretty much has, to this country, and they came legally. They didn't cheat, they didn't sneak in, they had to earn their spot in this country. And there's arguments by the left and by progressives saying, you have no heart or you don't care. Of course I care. But they need to take responsibility for what they did. They need to take responsibility for the fact that they came to this country illegally. And when you come to a country illegally, you need to take responsibility for that. And I think that is part of the mentality of the millennial generation. Anyone who was born between the year 1980 and 1995, who in 2000, where they're basically becoming during the young adult stages they're in the workforce, and there's just this whole no responsibility because their parents always bailed them out. And this is a long process. This process has been going on for decades. It really started in the 40s and 50s, and it's been a slow burn to where we are right now. So back to Trump. He had a very good day yesterday. His speech on immigration has been lauded by some people. Of course, you're not going to get credit from the liberal mainstream media. By the way, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I am at AmericaFirst16, and my email address is PCFREEPatriot@gmail.com. So Trump had a successful day yesterday. Today he also he spoke to the American Legion. I think it was the same group that Clinton spoke to yesterday, where he had a little bit more of a condensed speech about immigration and his goals that he will try to instill if he's president, and it was more focused on national security and veterans and how he plans on revamping the VA, which has taken a lot of hits because of their poor handling of injured veterans. So a couple other points to talk about tonight beyond Trump. There was word that came out about the first debate, or quote-unquote debate. Apparently it's not going to be a full one-on-one debate, which really needs to be discussed in the media. Matt Lauer has been named the moderator, but from what I have read and what I understand, it's going to be an hour-long, half-hour segments with Trump and Clinton not facing each other one-on-one, which is really, when you're dealing with three debates, three chances for the populace to have a chance to see both candidates interact against each other and to show why they'd be the best candidate. It isn't surprising because Hillary has done everything in her power to avoid speaking to the media or interacting with the electorate. I don't know how this is going to be handled, but it's very disappointing that it seems like the first debate's not going to be a debate at all. So that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I mean, it's something that really is kind of disheartening to hear, especially when we're in a junction. But this isn't a surprise. Their whole strategy is to kind of isolate the low information voters, which are the people who are not politically active or understand the situation that our media has been taken over by special interests. And when they're afraid, and which is dually so, is like if Trump faces Clinton, which he's gonna get the opportunity where he's gonna be able to expose her for what she is, and she's a fraud. But they're trying their best to isolate. They're trying to control another thing that's related. The independent media, which I'm a part of, they're really trying to ratchet down on information because they know that information is getting out, and that is a concern because if they can't control the information and the narrative, they can't control what they want to accomplish with a new world order. So the one thing that came out today, which is very disheartening to hear, is that YouTube has instituted a new process for paid advertising. So if you have a web channel or a channel that they disagree with, or they can call that they deem appropriate, they won't revoke your channel, but they won't let you monetize it, so you get paid. Because, for example, someone who draws about 1 million views to a video will make approximately between $1,000 and $2,000. So this really bites at the independent media, the journalists such as myself, who are not in the mainstream media anymore because we decided that being in the mainstream media is not worth selling your soul to lie and to not tell both sides of the story. And that's the thing. It's when I was in J school years ago, I was taught to cover both sides of the story and to cover the facts and to give an honest opinion and not to really take sides on a story. But we're in a situation right now, specifically because of who Donald Trump is, which he is a threat to the establishment and a threat to their world order that they're trying to accomplish, that you're not going to get honesty in the media. But luckily, a majority of people are starting to realize this. So this is a very disheartening thing about YouTube. There was going across YouTube today, there was hashtags that were saying death to YouTube, and this has happened before. And by instituting this, once again, you can kind of control who makes money and who is successful. They've been doing shadow banning, and they've also been doing other stuff on Twitter to cut back on people who are prominent and who are spreading the message of what's going on. It's disheartening, but you can imagine it. They're at war with us as well. It's ideological info war, and it's really all we can do is to be honest and to try to get the word out. So it'll be interesting to say the least. The other news, the whole Kaepernick thing. My personal opinion is I disagree with his stance on not standing for the national anthem, but we live in a free country, and I'd be a hypocrite to say, he should be fired or should be cut because he refuses to stand. That's his choice. It's a wrong choice. He's disrespecting veterans, he's disrespecting our flag and our country, but that's his opinion. The fact that the problem is that it seems like these organizations, NFL to name a few, they pick and choose which side to take. There should be an even, a fair and balanced treatment, because I remember a couple of weeks ago the Dallas Cowboys wanted to wear a decal on their helmet to honor the police officers who fell during that attack a month or so ago, and they were denied by the NFL. But you have a gentleman by the name of Kaepernick going to practice wearing socks that have police represented as pigs. So I mean, it's not just in the NFL. It's across the board in popular mainstream culture. I mean, to give you another example is Milo Yiannopoulos, a very popular conservative voice who works for Breitbart, a gay gentleman who is conservative, which is a major threat to the establishment because the establishment likes to put people in boxes. Basically, if you're gay, you're supposed to be a liberal and you're not supposed to be conservative, and it would be a threat to that Democratic voting base if a person like Milo, if you notice, in relation to him, Hillary Clinton had a big alt-right speech last week where she pointed out a couple of alt-right figures, including Alex Jones, and he wasn't mentioned. Why wasn't Milo not mentioned? Because he is a big threat. Because if the gay and lesbian and bisexual community learns that, yes, voting Democratic and letting Syrian refugees in, who will ultimately, if there's enough gain in numbers, will establish Sharia zones, they will not treat those people with respect. They will most likely harm them. So that's something that Milo has been speaking out about, and he's also been reaching out to college-aged millennials, who is, in the past and based on some numbers I've seen, Charlie Kirk, who is with Turning Point USA, Chicago region, put out a poll that showed that about 20% 40% of millennials were going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And millennials are a large group of low information voters, which are voters who really have no idea about what really is going on. But that is changing. There are a lot of young voters in, as young as 12 years old up to their 20s who are starting to wake up and understand, hey, wait, all these coincidences and all this unity in the media and in the social and in the Hollywood, there's a reason for it. So, but getting back to equal treatment, Milo was banned because he got into a Twitter war with Leslie Jones, who is a black comedian who's been a outwardly militant person against white people. Actually, she's pretty racist based on her Twitter posts of blatant black on white racism. Instead of her being banned or her being punished, she got Milo banned, and she's also been rewarded with Allstate commercial, as well as a guest spot at the Summer Olympics down in Rio a couple weeks ago. So there is definitely a hypocrisy when it comes to equal weight among conservatives and liberal-based groups, and that's going to continue. And you can also say, if Hillary becomes president, that she's shown in the past that she has a streak, and Obama did it with the IRS, persecuting conservative groups. And this is a dire time. We're in a dire time right now, and it's very important for us all to realize that. All of us, even if I don't consider myself a full-blown conservative, but I also consider myself a person who loves this country and loves liberal ideas. And, we're in a dangerous place, and we all need to stand together, regardless who you are, if you're a conservative or a liberal, or if you're a Christian or non-Christian. We all need to stand together and work together to be Americans and to bridge our differences, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. So, but this is about it for tonight. You guys, if you have any feedback, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at AmericaFirst16 and on Gmail at PCFREEPatriot@gmail.com. You all have a great night, and I'll talk to you later. Take care.